tired. Everybody else is tired. We're tired. We're gonna do this pretty quickly. The last week's results were TSM 1-1. Little John Big Peter. F5 got booty blasted by Bofa. 2-0. Dogwater beat Roll 2-0. Shenanigans went 1-1 with TLW TLC, and boom, was a 2-0 in TLC's favor. So that puts our standings at Shenanigans at the top. TLW's number 2. Dogwater Gaming is number 3. Whatever our name is number 4. Bofa is number 5 still, tied with Lost Chapter. 7 is Team Silver Mechanics, and 8th is tied 3 ways between Dinner Roll, Boom What Up, and Little John Big Peters. Alrighty, boys, let's jump into players watched last week. How did your player to watch from last week do, Justin?
I have no idea. Anybody who watched the Shenanigans game, let me know. They won. So there's that. I can only assume that that OP had a part to play in that win. He did it.
You didn't even watch The Love of Your Life, and here you were complaining last week.
You
guys don't play video games anymore.
I mean, it's not my fault that all the games are scheduled on the same day, but so is this league. Anyway, I'll watch the VOD if there's a VOD. How about that?
In game 2, I think it got streamed. In game 2, Opie went 0-5-3 on Wukong. They lost. In game 1, he went 4-2-8 on Malphite.
Well, there we go. He popped off on his man because they didn't ban it, and then he entered on Wukong. Good job, OP. Proud of you.
I can feel the love. Josh, how did your player to watch do?
Same series as Opie, just on the other side of the rift. I watched Skiz this week, who is playing on his Smurf account Skizzy because someone hacked his account, and he's trying to get unbanned by Riot. Don't know if that's happened yet, but that's a little problem he's facing right now. Game 1, I guess he went top lane, which is different for him for the rest of the season so far. I didn't watch the series either, but looking at stats, he played Jax, went 2-3-0, and had the best scoreline on his team. They had 5 kills total that game, so not a very successful match for TLW. Game 2, they turned things around to do something a little bit different. He popped the fuck off on MF and went 14-1-10 against a 4-13-7 bot lane. So hard carry from Skiz on the MF in the bot lane. Skiz Yumi bot lane. Boom Marco was 1-0-24. So game 1 looked much better than game 2.
Hell yeah. I'll cover Frank's pick from last week since we were missing Ryan. Frank was watching Sluggish Slasha last week, and Sluggish Slasha went 7-4-13 on Talia in their victory that week. And then the next game, looks like he played Olaf and went 1-5-2. And that's kind of the same story it is for my player to watch from last week, which was Kevin. I was riding my boy again, and Kevin had a really good game and a really bad game. His bad game was 175, and that game 1 that landed 1. So that was unfortunately a loss for his team. And then in game 2, he did a lot better. He got his brand, and he showed everybody why he banned that champion against him. And he went 6-0-6. So proud of him. Rode my boy for a week. We're gonna get into players to watch for next week, but I'm riding my other boy now. The guy that I rode after Kevin, literally Nate. I am watching literally Nate this week, because I think his team is they're just on the outside of everything. Yeah. Like Team Silver Mechanics is sitting at 7th place, and it's the top 6 teams that make it into playoffs. And I know that scheduling has been weird for them lately, but they can still find their way into playoffs depending on how some wins and losses go. So I'm watching literally Nate this week, because as much as we want to say everything starts with washing hands, I think it starts with Nate making an impact in all of his games to get them into the playoffs. So I'm watching Nate this week.
If TSM goes 2-0 this week against Bofa, they'll be tied with Bofa in standings at 7 and 9 each, but then they'll have the tiebreaker win. So they'll have the playoff seeding over Bofa in that situation.
So I'm going to need all the boys on TSM to get some vengeance, because I was popping off on Nami last week, and I couldn't make it happen for us in the 1-1. Sivan on Kog'Maw and a Yumi attached to him was a little bit too much for me to handle at my main role.
For us.
All right, who are you guys watching? Justin.
We're watching What was I saying? Neil the Seal. Well, reason one, because he's in my game. Reason two, because I think he can be one of the best junglers, and it's going to be a slobber knocker between the New York Jets and the New York Giants this week with my team versus, Lil John Big Peters and Dinnerall. What can you say? We haven't found our footing. They haven't found their footing. It's we're both still in playoff contention, especially if we 2-0 one another, and with some help of getting some losses between TLC. I think it's going to be a fun matchup between him and Sarah Cruz. It's a tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast kind of situation, but it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. So Neil the Steel is my play.
Ryan, who are you watching? You haven't talked yet.
I'm watching El Shaka 956 this week. I think Boom had a rough outing this last weekend, going 0-2, definitely putting a dent in their playoff hopes. But for them to go 4-2, El Shaka is going to need to repeat his performance from this last week. He had a really good game on Lee Sin. I think he finished like 8-3-3. Second game, he struggled a little more. But that had more to do with macro and jungle prio, and even though they had an early lead, which he helped create, TLC got every dragon in the game and sort of got a little outclassed in the second game by Evangelist, but didn't play poorly by any means. I think they've really found a strong recipe for success with Mammoth in bot lane. I think he's been playing really, really well, and he's enjoying the role. I think he found a home that he likes, maybe somewhere to stay more permanently if he still doesn't want to play support in future splits. But we sort of always talk about how like every team has their go button, and it's not about if that go button does well or not. It's about who's going to go with them that week. And I think for Boom to find success, the two of them really they have to be clicking on the same page. There were some other like weird circumstances that sort of kept those games separate, but if the two of them are going, I do think they have a chance on the back end to really close out the season well. I have them going 1-1 this week, but there is a world where I could see them going 2-0 this week and possibly doing the same in the following week. I think they're a great team when they're playing well, and it starts with those two. So I'm watching El Shaka in the hopes that they show up this week.
Hell yeah. Josh, who are your eyes on?
Slasha in my eyes this week, kind of leading into game predictions as well. TLW versus F5, I think, is the most important match of this week, and definitely the match I am the most interested to see, because the second, third, and fourth are all really close, and then the two teams tied for fifth aren't super far behind either. But this TLW versus F5 matchup, depending on which way it goes, could really shake up this top three seeding and affect who gets the bye in the first round for playoffs and who doesn't get a bye. Shenanigans and TLC or TLW have both locked in playoffs. It's just locking in whatever seed they're going to be. And then Dogwater Gaming needs one win out of their last four in order to lock in playoffs. So it's really close between those teams to see where seeding is going to be. If F5 is able to take a game off of TLW, or even two games off of TLW, then they have a really high contention for that second place. But I think a lot of that is going to come off of Slash's back in order to defend his team's position and maintain their spot in second place currently. Slash played really well throughout the entire season, both for his own team and for other teams, because he's been a high value sub as well. And I think a lot of TLW's success, even though Chase is like the carry player on that team, Slaga is really good at providing agency, setting up for the other members on his team to carry, and then carrying in his own right too. He's had games this season that he's completely taken over and led his team to victory from a carry's perspective as well. So I'm definitely think that a big part of this game is going to be how Slash is able to face off against F5.
All right. So You said into our predictions. Let me pull up my predictions here. So in a similar vein, I've got Roll going 2-0 against Little John Big Peters. As Justin said, they're a little bit on the outside of this playoff hunt. And for them to make it in, they're going to have to win out and have some good luck fall their way. And I don't dismiss the ability of our boys to, be scrappy. So I'm going to give them a 2-0. I think Little John Big Peters could also make this a 1-1 series or even 2-0 themselves, but I'm going to show some faith in Justin and see and hope that they secure their best chance to get in the playoffs. I've got TLW versus F5 going 1-1. I said I would never predict a 2-0 for our team, and I feel like the last week against Bofa kind of showed something about our team to me that I'm not going to say anything, of course, to where everybody can see it, but there's some stuff that I definitely need to cover with everybody because I think there is a very a clear flaw in the way that we like to play League of Legends. So, at number one, it starts with Fudgy being available. Salty.
It is the Salty Runback.
I'm salty, Fudgy. Frank and Fudgy have gone to like 16 weddings this split. Like, I get it, you love those people, but come on. But that's what's happened with us. I think the Bofa match really showed me something. So hopefully we can get at least ideas of where we can go forward. But I wouldn't be surprised to see TLW or really kind of give us the business this week if we don't get those problems fixed by then. I've got Boom versus DWG. I've got this as a 1-1 since, Boom is going to try their best to make their way into playoffs. And like Ryan was saying, El Shaka is definitely going to have to step up and help Grant in his new role of AD carry really make this game happen. But I'm not going to dismiss your ability to stifle a good carry, Josh. So, got that series going as a 1-1. I've got TLC versus Shenanigans. I've got this going as a 2-0 towards TLC. This is one of those that like they also have to like really finish out strong if stuff doesn't start falling their way. And so I'm gonna go kind of like take the angle that we've seen some weakness out of Shenanigans. So maybe they'll find it in 2 games in a row and they'll take it there. And then I got TSM versus Bofa. I've got Bofa taking this game 0-2. I was very impressed with the way they handedly beat us in game 2 this last week. And TSM, I think, has more problems than they can overcome against a more cohesive team like Bofa. So Ryan.
I've got Roll LJBP going 1-1. Like Justin said, it's the Jets versus Giants. At this point in the season, you kind of know what you're getting with both those squads. It's just going to be a question of who makes mistakes in what games, and I think they're both going to make mistakes, so they're both going to get an opportunity to win at least one. But like it's going to be a fiesta, so seeing this go 2-0 is totally plausible. It's just chaos, so like pick a number and hope it sticks. TLW versus F5. I actually have a 2-0 for F5. I still have a lot of faith in the way F5 plays, even after the games this week. I think Jake made a good point about availability, and if that stuff gets resolved, like obviously it's a very different team. And I think F5, even though they're in a pretty solid spot right now, still has a lot to prove, and I think they play with not a chip on their shoulder. That might not be the right word, but like definitely speaking with their players and speaking to them in post games and all that stuff, they definitely have more focus on this season than some of the other people or some of the other teams that I've had a chance to speak to. So I actually have them taking a 2-0 this week, and possibly seeing TLW maybe fall asleep at the wheel, coasting their way into playoffs. You see it in pro sports all the time, like teams that are locked in, teams that look like they're going to the end, sort of take a week off towards the end. So I that's my spicy take for this week. I have Boom and DWG going 1-1. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup in bot lane. I think that unfortunately the very, very clear mistakes for Boom are going to continue to be an issue, and that's going to cost them a game in this series. A series that I really think they should be able to get a 2-0, but they're not going to because the same things are going to continue to crop up for them. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So it's going to go 1-1, and the bot lanes are going to shot in both games. I think the game that Boom wins, Grant's going to pop off, and I think in the game that DWG wins. I give it to Josh Box to step up and shut him down. I actually think I'll go even more heavy on this. I think Boom wins the first game. DWG wins the second game once Josh figures out what the bot lane's trying to do and the sort of gank timers and all that shit. I think DWG is a team that responds really well. I think they do better in the second match. So that's my even more in-depth take. My game to watch this week is TLC versus Shenanigans. I got to cast their game this week, and I got the solo cast, which is like not the greatest experience, but really makes you focus on the games. So you get a lot of you see a lot of things you might not have seen before. And TLC really, really surprised me with the way they played. I thought earlier in the season, Jake had a take about Adam being a Jekyll and Hyde player, and I totally agree with that. But in the games this week, I saw Adam sort of take a back seat in the first game and wait to see what happens and playing responsively rather than proactively, which I thought was pretty good on his part. And it shows that he can do more than just that aggressive, I'm going to be in your face and fuck you up stuff. Definitely got screwed on some pathing, but it's going to happen. But I was really, really impressed, and I think they can take a game off of Shenanigans and go 1-1. I think they're feeling confident. They're going to have Ali in mid lane again, which is, at least as I understand, unless it's changed since I last spoke with Adam. And it's just a very different feel to how the team functions. I think when Corn comes back, they should really look into playing some stuff like what they have when Ali's there. I think when they play the hyper carries, or when they play the chaos mids that Corn loves to play, it makes things a lot more of a coin flip. But in that second game, they had massive objective control. They were all over everything. The rotations were on time, and it really saved them in game 2 when they got out to an early deficit. They were able to recover because of good objective control. So I give them a 1-1 this week. That's my spicy take. I want to watch that game. Should be really, really good. And I want to see if I feel like I talk about it every week, mostly because he's a friend of mine, but also I love the way he plays the game. I really want to see how Adam and Maie shake out across from each other, because Maie is very clearly the better jungler in the situation, but Adam loves a challenge and likes to put people down a peg. So I think that'll be a really, really interesting matchup in the jungle.
All right. Who are we left with out of predictions?
Justin and myself.
No, sorry. I kind of zoned out there. I saw a really funny meme and I kind of zoned in on it. So who wants a paper, rock, scissors for it? Go.
I'll just take it. Fuck it. So, starting with Roll versus Lil Jon Big Peters. That's my game to watch this week. It's my own game. Go me. I do have us going 2-0. Like Ryan said, it's gonna be scrappy. I do think my team lives in the scrap. We were born in it, molded by it, etc., etc.
I was born in it, molded by it.
So,
I didn't see the light of a victory until but a child.
It's a weird thing to say about our team, but I do think we thrive in scrappy situations, and to that I think take it 2-0. It should be a very fun fiesta for all to watch. So make it out if you can, or don't. I understand.
Or don't.
I have TLW versus F5. I have that going 1-1. I like what I see from both of those teams. I think both can take a game off each other. I am. If I have to give an edge to anybody, it is F5. I think TLW found almost a what do you call it? Just a fucking cliff.
Plateau.
Plateau. That's the word. Thanks, Josh. Anyway, I'm hearing myself in somebody's mic.
Oh, it's me. It goes back and forth between everybody every week. Hold on.
Okay. But anyway, I do have that 1-1. I think both can take a game off each other. Boom versus DWG. Boom had a rough week last week. I don't expect that to get better against a really, really solid DWG squad. So I think DWG takes that 2-0. Shenanigans versus TLC. Again, piggybacking off of Ryan, I do like what I've seen from TLC. They have dropped some games to teams they probably shouldn't have before, so those situations are still prominent. Those mistakes are still prominent. I think Shenanigans will run them over 2-0. And then TSM versus Bofa. I have Bofa taking it 2-0. I think they're just the better squad. There we go.
All right, Josh, who are you watching? What's going on?
My game to watch, already talked about TOW versus F5. I have that going 1-1, which kind of doesn't really help the standings at all. Personally, I would prefer if F5 wins 2-0 for DWG's playoff run. It makes our chance in the second a little bit better. But I think that match could be 1-1. They both are really solid teams overall, and I think it'll be like a TOW wins game 1. F5 is like, now we have an understanding of like what this team does. Being in a game with them, they're going to adapt draft, be a little more successful with their draft plan. Though I know they always go into game with a solid plan because I know, Jake, you run that. And then they're going to take game 2. Roll versus Little John Big Peters. I have that being a 1-1. I think they're two solid teams with carry potential from definitely in the bot lane is going to be the lane to watch. Justin versus Kim Peter in the ADC role. I think as well for this game, I think Little John Big Peters is going to win game 1. I think Kim Peters is going to have a little bit of a pop-off performance. And then game 2, Roll, I think y'all play better in your second games. You guys get a little bit better footing, and then you come back in game 2, and Fred will have a vengeance, and you'll have a vengeance, and No Not will have a vengeance to take a game off of them. And with Fred's aggression that he likes to put towards the bot lane and towards his lanes to shut down Kim Peter, if he gets a character like a Nunu or a Fiddlesticks that he's able to really put a lot of pressure on lanes, I think you guys take game 2 for sure. Though it could go 2-0 for either team as well. I have DWG beating Boom 2-0. I think DWG has shown a lot of improvement throughout the season. I think we still have room to grow before we hit our ceiling. And I think Boom, while they have solid players, they don't always mesh, like Ryan, you said a little bit. And I think Buddy will be able to take advantage in the jungle over some of those shortcomings that El Shaka sometimes makes with objective control. And then once we get our footing in the game, it's hard to take us off of our footing. So I think we win this match 2-0, though I don't think I think Boom has potential to win a match or the series as well. Shenanigans, I have winning a 2-0 over TLC. I think they're just a more structured and a more organized team overall, with all their players stepping up to the plate. Though I do agree that I think the Evangelist versus Maye jungle situations could be one of the more interesting jungle matchups we have in the season. With the edge going to Maye, but I think Adam is going to definitely give Matt a run for his money in this week. And Ali is always a player to watch whenever she's on the Rift. A very solid player, subbing for a very solid Cornstar as well. Two very different play styles might throw off Shenanigans with what they have to do, but I think Shenanigans will take it overall. And then Bofa versus TSM, Bofa coming off of a solid 2-0 victory against F5 last week. I think they're going to maintain that pressure that they have, that they had, and walk through this TSM squad as well that sometimes feels a little disjointed with their players.
All right, so that wraps us up. So we're in our final last 2 weeks. Big push. We'll have superlatives at the end of the split because we're going to try to get them done during the middle. But Ryan missed us on a week, and we felt like doing everything alongside him. So we'll hold those out as end of season BS. So if you were wanting to be a candidate in all of that jazz, be sure you make a good, strong final push in the last 2 weeks. Anybody got anything else brewing up that they need to announce?
Who won last week's predictions?
Oh, that's right. We didn't actually factor in who won. Josh won. So that puts what?
I have 2. I think Justin has 3, you and I have 2, and Ryan has 1.
All right. So Ryan sucks, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
This week was wild, though. Jake and Justin, neither of you got a game.
Yeah. Didn't expect to get 2-0.
I got my pick'ems right though, so I'm happy with that.
And really, what matters more? What matters more, being in the top 6% in the world with your world's pick'ems, or winning 1 week that you're already crushing everybody else in the salty runback?
It's like it's top 2. Thanks very much, but
even better.
I felt pretty good. I logged in today to see where I stood with the PMLCS bros, and I beat Chad Penguin by a point. Take
Suck it,
that.
Chad.
Suck it, Chad.
Fuck you, Chad.
Wait, which one did so? Between Ryan and I, which one took over for Chad and which one took over for Sean?
You guys, ooh.
Oh,
This is
Ryan
important
definitely
information.
Ryan took over for Sean because they were the ones with the hot takes. So you took over for
you're
Chad.
Chad Penguin. Josh Penguin. Josh Penguin.
Just Penguin. Penguins are my second favorite animal, so I'm okay with that.
Chad
I
Box.
like Penguin Bucks better.
Penguin Buck, that's cute.
All right.
Chad, Penguin Buck coming to a bot lane near you.
All right, cut the VOD. We're done. Get us out of here.